Okay, Andrew Carden from Mommy's Busy, Go Ask Daddy. I didn't expect to be first. Um,
We could talk about just mommy's busy, go ask daddy, because I
well,
love that.
that would be amazing, but I don't think anyone else would like that. So,
I
first,
can move
you
on to the
made
next
one.
person. Do you want me to move on to the next person and come back to you?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
You made an amazing film. I thought it was really, really touching, moving, certainly stirred a lot of emotions. I'm sure everyone else agreed. I want to ask you the question that you asked everybody else in the film is, what is a dad to you?
Well, a dad to me, and this is a question that was asked of me on the stage after the screening at the Toronto Film Festival. And it was so funny because someone in the audience asked me, and I was like, why have I never asked myself this question? And what I answered still holds true today, which is that a father in my mind is a caregiver. Um, and that's not very exciting necessarily, like, or eventful, because it's not. It's something it's a given. It's a daily thing. It's a moment to moment thing. And when dad's playing with the kids, it's not an event. It's something that is a given. And so anyway, and that's what I've seen as well. That's what I've observed of my husband, of my dad, of my brother. Um, Father is a caregiver.
Okay, great. Next is Ben Fung. Please unmute yourself, slate your name outlet, and you can ask your question.
Hi, Ben here with Daddy in the Raw Work at Home Dad blog. Thank you so much for sharing this incredible experience. I watched it late into the night with a very teary pillow, and it was incredible, and it so resonated with me because so many dads were at home, and that's actually how I got started here. Was my 4-month-old didn't want to play with me anymore because I was gone at work outside the home for too long. So I quit everything and like what most people call like corporate suicide, but now I get to work from home and be with him every day. So thank you. And I guess on the career path, like you're super accomplished. Like to say accomplished is almost like an understatement. But I think this is your feature directorial debut. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's a huge deal. Like, what compelled you? In that moment, like this is the one. Like this is it. Like, bam, there's my name, and it is for the world to see, and it's incredible. I love your thoughts on what got you to this point, and you told yourself this is the one.
You know what? Honestly, it's kind of wild because this entire project ongoingly has been kind of like one unexpected turn after the other. And every turn has been a positive one. I was directing on Mandalorian, on the first season of Mandalorian, and I over the years I've directed a lot of short documentaries. Oh my goodness, baby! Oh baby! I directed a lot of short documentaries with a producer named Justin Wilkes, and Justin had just recently joined or started Imagine Documentaries, and he came to me and he was like, "Listen, there's a company called Unilever, and they run Dove Men Plus Care, and they do a lot of work with men and to support fathers, and recently, in particular, the focus has been on paternity leave, and they want to do a feature film about modern fathers. Would you be interested?" And I was like, I'd be interested in a meeting. Like, I'd be interested in learning more. And I went to the meeting, and as we were talking, and as I was learning about kind of the culture of fatherhood and the ways in which fathers are consistently consciously or unconsciously undermined in their pursuit of having a relationship with their children, it just got me really fired up. And especially because like all the dads I know are amazing. Honestly, I don't see any, like, I haven't come into contact with any father who is the least bit incompetent or bumbling or avoiding or like abdicating responsibility. Like absolutely no. These fathers are the kind of parent that I strive to be. So in the room, I said, okay, if it's a documentary about dads, it's a comedy. And I would love to interview stand-up comedians because they are our modern day philosophers, and they would be our Greek chorus. And then I would love to go and profile fathers around the world, doing the same thing but different, you know. And then my own kind of like personal family story was something that ended up being really unexpected. I sort of said I would love to talk about granddad or something because he had recently passed away, and I was like, or dedicate the movie to him. And my dad had some concerns about it, which were pretty fair. And then about halfway through filming, I kept saying I wanted an expecting father, and found out that my brother was going to be having his first baby with his wife. And so it just was really, really, really lucky. And his story kind of was the last thing that we filmed. So, you know, it ended up being a very personal story, and one that obviously opens up with my birth. But it didn't start off that way necessarily. It was more an investigation of a subject as a documentary filmmaker, and I was like, oh, this is just a longer form. And then it ended up, you know, feeling a lot more like my feature debut.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next is Drew Bennett.
Hi, I'm Drew Bennett from Ben Spark Family Adventures. I really loved the movie. I especially loved the part where about your grandfather influencing the Andy Griffith Show. I'm an old guy, so I watched all those, and I watched all the Happy Days. And what I really liked about that is that both of those shows portrayed a really good father-son relationship, which was important. I've a good representation of dads. Those two shows were great. So my question is, where do you find the dads for the documentary, and how did you go about choosing and deciding which stories to tell? Because you must have seen tons and tons of dads.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there were so many incredible fathers, and there were two aspects of filming that were utterly painful, and one of them was needing to narrow down the dads. The other was needing to cut anything from basically Will Smith. And so many of our comedians. Oh man, so funny. But the way in which we connected with our fathers was first through the daddy blogger community. I mean, relatively kind of new on the scene, and growing community, and a really, really important one, giving a voice to fathers who haven't been given a lot of attention in this area, been kept in the background in the parenting conversation. And so Glenn Belief Henry, a quick search, basically daddy blogger, and he comes up. And Robert Selby, very active, within that community. Each one of the dads in their own way had created a platform to connect with others, other fathers, other individuals who were committed to supporting fathers. Yeah, that's basically.
All right. Next up is Christopher Lewis.
Hi, Bryce. Christopher Lewis from Dad of Divas and Fathering Together. After I have to agree with everything that people have said. It was a wonderful movie. You truly captured, I think, the modern day father. I think that I was talking to one other person on here, and we were kind of talking while we were waiting, and we both agreed about that. But after meeting so many different fathers, and I know you said you had ones that didn't make the cut, as you look at that and you look at the takeaways that you hope people are going to take away from this, what was your biggest takeaway, especially as you looked at the cultural differences, the differences in people and experiences they brought to the film itself? What is your biggest takeaway from this film? But what do you hope that others are going to take away the most from this film?
You know, there were so many for me, especially being a mother, so many aha moments. Probably the biggest one was that, and this is more of like a negative takeaway, but it was just obvious to me, and I couldn't believe it. That there is no rite of passage for a man who is becoming a father. It is the biggest event that can happen to you in your life other than your birth or your death. Why is there no acknowledgement? You are just as involved as the mother, and there's a baby shower for the mother, and having been through it, that's a very important moment. A community saying we are holding this space for you, and we share your vision to have a family, and we're going to be there for you. And the fact that here we are, 2020, I mean, when I was making the movie 2018, 2019, that there's just, I mean, I looked everywhere and I was like, what? There's no rite of passage. And that to me represented so much, and kind of spoke to Will Smith's great quote where he talks about that there's no manual for becoming a father, and there really should be. And this journey, making this movie in a way, became my little brother's rite of passage. He was talking to my dad when I was filming that, the scene where my dad and my brother were in the basement. It was actually Ashley's baby shower upstairs, and I was filming. I was just shooting it on my own. I was filming upstairs, and then I just happened to be like, "Where are the boys?" And so then I went downstairs, and they were, playing games downstairs, pinball and such. And I was kind of like, wow, this is such a kind of like metaphor for what society is. They are literally hiding in the basement, playing games, not because they're avoiding anything, not because they're not totally committed to being great dads themselves, but because they are not included. They are not included in the celebration. And so it's kind of, this is, if it could be anything, it would be, it's a celebration of modern dads, but it would be great if fathers or people who are about to become fathers, watch something like this and feel maybe a little bit more prepared. Then it's like, job done. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Next is Tobin Walsh. Tobin, are you there? Okay, I see him in here. Tobin? No. Okay, we'll move on.
Yeah,
Sorry. Okay, Art Eddie.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Art Eddie from The Art of Fatherhood. I really love this documentary. I think you did a great job. And you kind of mentioned the Will Smith, the picture-in-picture TV that has a manual. That was brilliant to put that in there. You're following your dad's footsteps with your line of work, right? And not only does he probably teach you a bunch of things about the industry that you guys are working together in, but after seeing this documentary and seeing his perspective and his thoughts on fatherhood, how has that changed your view of him as a dad?
Gosh, I mean, it, you know what, more than anything, it confirmed my views on him. I was more surprised by my interview with my brother, because I'm like definitely a daddy's girl, like for sure. I'm the oldest, so I got to be around the most. of my siblings up until this point. And I forget sometimes that my brother is 6 years younger, gets like left out of things a little bit. And I had heard my dad so many times saying that his biggest fear was that he would never be able to be as good a father as his own father, which always really struck me, considering I was like, Dad, you're the greatest. And then to hear, like, when I share that with my brother, and my brother was like, what? He really said that? Like, that's exactly what I feel. And that was so touching to me because, it captured the legacy of great parenting. And I've always been so aware of what a privilege it was to have parents who were healthy and functional, and really included me and my siblings in their lives in a way that showed us a lot of respect and really empowered us. And so it's been wonderful to get to, in a bigger way, basically this Father's Day, say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, next is Adam Cohen.
Hi, I'm Adam Cohen from dadarocks.com, a dad blog with out of New York City. I have 3 kids, and so one thing that I like to ask people is, what do you think you're going to get your dad for Father's Day this year, other than a great documentary?
It's a good question. My daughter actually asked me the same thing on Mother's Day. She turned to me and she whispered to me, she was like, what are you gonna get Dad for Father's Day? And I said to her, I made him a documentary this year. No, for sure. I've definitely got to do something more. What we focus on in our household is like eventizing the day and making it like, where we just treat him like a king and like make food that he likes and bring him breakfast in bed and get to, if he wants to play video games, like with the kids, he gets to play video games with the kids. So, that's kind of more what it's about. But now you've got me thinking, for sure.
All right, next is Kathy Kopcut.
Hi, Bryce. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here today. I absolutely loved it. I was a hot mess. I lost my dad in September, so this will be the first Father's Day without him. And I was watching the documentary, just bawling, but bawling out of joy. And I loved your mom's home videos of your birth. I think it's fantastic. So I wanted to know, what is it you would like your audience goers, after watching this documentary, what do you want them to walk away with? What have they learned from it?
What I would hope would be, for folks who have or had functional, healthy dynamics with their parents and with their fathers, that they feel grateful for their dads, that they are celebrating their dads. And I would hope for men who are currently fathers of children who are still minors, or any father, to feel proud of themselves, to feel encouraged, to feel not alone, and to hopefully see something that inspires them to rise to the occasion, as a parent, as in the way in which all of these dads do, so heroically. Thank you.
All right, next is Christina Patricio.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, at the
Please
end.
say your outlet as well.
Yes. I am a lifestyle and entertainment blogger, and I'm with thepatricios.com. My question is, at the end, your dad makes some kind of like comment reference, like he thanks you, and then he's like, I don't know why I'm thanking you. I didn't even want to do this. And so I want to know, how much convincing was there to get your dad to be a part of this, but also your brother and your granddad?
my dad was really worried that I'm very effusive, and I've made no secret of the fact that I really respect and admire and love my dad. And I think he was he was worried that it was going to be like the I love my dad thing, or like fest or something, and he just was kind of like, oh, like I just hope that it's not just that, that it is actually a documentary about fathers around the globe. But when about midway through shooting, I kept saying, I was like, oh, we've got to find an expecting father. And then with my brother becoming that expecting father, it just made it something where it was just a no-brainer that like it had to be like the Howard story needed to be a part of it, if nothing else, other than to contextualize my brother's story of becoming a new parent. And so it was something. I mean, honestly, the truth is that my dad would have been supportive from the beginning and would have showed up and would have been interviewed and all of that. But it was kind of undeniable that he needed to participate, between my brother being our expecting father and it being dedicated to my grandfather, and him being a part of it in the interview that I did back in 2013. It was just that was just going to be the way it was going to be.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next is Mike Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? I really liked the movie, by the way. It was so heartwarming, and given that my father passed away as well 2 years back, and it was just nice to see that there are fathers out there who are just as caring as mine was. So, but this is more about your creative outlook. What have you learned from this as a director? What have you learned about yourself, basically?
Interesting. I mean, I think that I mean, I've always known that I'm someone who really values collaboration, and the input of others. I started teaching a couple of years ago at NYU, and getting to do this film while I was teaching and being able to involve so many of my students behind the scenes was something that it was totally unexpected. I absolutely treasured, and at every single turn they helped to elevate the storytelling with their feedback. So that was something that I really loved, especially because none of them are dads. They're all in their early 20s, and some of them in their late teens. And I think that also what I really learned about myself is that I am someone who is deeply earnest, and I want to feel, as an actor I'm that way, and as a director I'm that way, and that's something at one point we were like, we could call this movie Dad's Cry. Like, is it too much? Is it too much? And we actually, I really wanted this movie to be short, which it is. It's about 80 minutes, maybe a little less, because it's like so many ups and downs, and it's such a roller coaster. But that's what it is to be a parent, and that is the ultimate human experience. And so I think I just learned I mean, the themes of family and parenting, and that relationship has been something that's existed through all of my dad's work, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon when it comes to Howard movies.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. And last journalist, Robin Davis. Robin, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? I just did it for
There
you.
we go. Okay, thanks. Hi, Bryce. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today. My name's Robin Davis from momthemagnificent.com. And I just want to congratulate you on such a beautiful and well done film. I really love the mix of home footage and the real raw stories that you shared. So thank you for doing that. My question is, what's one piece of advice or maybe strong principle that you learned from your dad that you'd really like to pass on, or that you hope you pass on to your own child?
This might be like not the piece of advice that you would expect necessarily, but I go back to this again and again and again, and it's advice that Alan Alda told my dad, which is, when you're someone who's creative, working on a project that you're developing and that you're looking forward to and that you're hoping that you get to launch is something that, like, it just takes all of your focus and all of your passions and all of your creativity. And if something goes wrong, you like pick yourself up again and you like go and make it happen. And it's just that energy and that enthusiasm, that anyone who is creative and anyone who works in a creative field can recognize. Alan Alda told my dad, as much as you would do that for a project, you must do that for your children. And to me, it's, while you would think like, oh yeah, duh, it's a feeling that you're chasing, when that kind of like that joy comes up, that like, like that sort of like, I could read him that book. Oh, I can't wait till I can read him that book. Like, oh, they haven't checked out this movie. Oh, I want to show them this. Like, when you have those moments of excitement and when you can chase that within your family, you are actually creating something. And you are actively creating a future, which is better than any individual project would be. So that's just a great piece of advice that my dad passed along to me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.